Most High Christ blessed. Once again, Officer Lights down here, Anchorage, Alaska, Cuts from the Street edition. So we saw a lot of our people down here from all over. We saw Issachar, we saw Judah, we saw Gad down here. A lot of our brothers and sisters are down here. They just need to know how to repent, how to keep the commandments. Some brothers and sisters believe more than others, and others just really had no idea who they were according to the Bible until they saw themselves in the Bible.
Hey, so we noticed the people living in poverty. They stated that the south side is where all the rich white folk live, but then they said they live in the hoods and in the ghettos.
When you look, generally speaking, at our brothers and sisters of the tribe of Gad out here, you'll notice, especially in the downtown area, you'll have a lot of our people strung out, drunk, out of their mind.
You see, we got more brothers right behind us. So, hey, Most High Christ bless. Hey, stay tuned for another edition of Cuts from the Street. Shalom.
This is true.
I done seen the future in America won't make it. I can look at Europe and I see it for the taking. China's about to fall, the economy is breaking. We ain't asking for the kingdom, man, we about to take it. Take it. World domination, we gon' take it. I don't need your money, yeah, we coming out the matrix. The London Bridge is falling, the Eiffel Tower falling, Statue of Liberty is falling.
Shalom, Most High Christ bless. Officer Lights and Cuts from the Street. Hey, I just met my brother on the street right here. What's your name, man?
Roy.
Officer Nathaniel here with edition of Cuts from the Streets. I'm with
Isaiah Sniggeroff.
Sniggeroff.
Officer Zariah. I'm here with
My name is Diego.
Peter.
Peter, nice to meet you, Peter.
JP. All right, my brother JP.
Gino Peters.
Robert Barnett, originally from Connecticut.
Sammy Bingham.
I'm with Sammy Bingham.
So what brings you to Alaska?
I wanted to see a different part of America. I think it's important as an American to, use your freedom to travel, travel the world, but also travel, your country. It's different parts that make up, where we live, and each part is different.
Okay. So all praises. So you wanted to see a different part of America, right? So do you consider yourself to be American?
Yeah, I do.
What's your nationality again?
Cherokee, Apache, quite a few other lower 48 Native American, as well as Inupiaq and Yupik Eskimo.
Native, like you said, you're a native. You said Alaska Native, right?
Yeah. Mexican and Hispanic.
I think I heard the term foundational Black American.
The indigenous people to Alaska, would those be considered the Native Americans?
Absolutely.
Why are they called Alaska Natives or indigenous?
Well, because this was their land before America came here, and they brought alcohol, and it's destroying the native people.
If you said you're a native to Alaska, then why are you guys not everywhere in Alaska?
Like born and raised here?
Native, like you said, you're a native. You said Alaska Native, right?
Yeah.
So what does native mean?
Just native to the land, just always there.
Always there. So when you were here at the beginning, who were here with you?
I wouldn't know. I'm not that old. I don't know that much of the history.
Okay. Okay, well, according to the Bible, you've been an Israelite from the tribe of Gad. And through colonization and oppression, your name was switched to an Alaska Native. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1 and verse 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel.
Unto all who?
Unto all Israel.
All right, go back. So the Lord is prophesying something to all Israel, to the whole nation of Israel, right? And this is what he's prophesying, right?
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
Like you got the natives on one side, the Eskimos. Some people say it's a derogatory term. Other people embrace it. So it's just a challenging subject.
They are sometimes called Eskimos, meaning eater of raw meat, in the language of the Algonquin Indians, first applied to them by French settlers in the 17th century. The term Eskimo is considered offensive by indigenous Arctic communities, as it was imposed by non-indigenous colonizers and is associated with stereotypes of violence and barbarism.
You know what a byword is?
No.
Okay, so a byword is basically a derogatory term, a name put upon you, a label put upon you, not by God. So, for instance, when we call ourselves black, God never says we're from the nation of black, right? Nor does God say we're Alaskan natives or Eskimos, right? So those are derogatory terms put on our people, right? So that's what a byword is. So the Bible is prophesying the Israelites are going to be a byword in the last days. That's going to be one of their curses. Read.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
Among all nations where the Lord is going to lead you. So in other words, the Israelites are going to be led to all nations by the Lord. So in other words, the Israelites in the last days, the majority of us, we're not going to be in Israel. We're going to be in all nations. One of those nations and one of the main nations is America.
Have you heard of the children of Israel?
Yes.
Okay, so we believe that the indigenous people are part of the lost tribes of Israel.
I believe that.
So according to the Bible, you would be an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. But the Alaskan natives or the Native American Indians, they would be Israelites from the tribe of Gad.
Well, I believe that all peoples are a tribe of Judah. You know, the David and, you know, the Israelites, you know. We have a very strong calling to Israel, my wife and I.
Okay.
Through our beliefs.
Okay.
Yeah.
We believe that Jacob had 12 sons.
Yeah.
And we believe that the natives are actually the tribe of Gad, according to the Bible.
Let me know if you ever read this before. Read what you got.
This one.
Verse 2.
The book of Psalms, chapter 83 and verse 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
So the Bible says that God has enemies, and those enemies of God lifted up their head. Read.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
Against the people of God, against God's people. So the enemies of God, they hate God, they lifted up their head, they became prideful, and then they took crafty counsel against the people of God. Read.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
And then they consulted against the people of God who were hidden. And the reason why they're hidden is because they don't know they're the people of God. They believe that they're Native American Indians, Alaskan Indians, indigenous people, but they don't know that there's a relation with them to the Most High God of this Bible, the God of Israel. Read.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
So the enemies of God, Roy, said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. Read.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
So now they don't remember that they're the children of Israel. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So the curses are coming upon the Israelites. Believe it or not, the natives and the so-called blacks are brothers. We are the Israelites. You be from the tribe of Judah, and they'll be from the tribe of Gad. And the reason why we're going through these oppressions is because we broke the laws of God.
And now we're affected today because of those curses, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that today we're still facing these curses?
I mean, it kind of feels like it.
Absolutely.
Working minimum wage, just enough to pay rent and buy a pack of cigarettes and be broke.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And smoking cigarettes is a sin against our God too. They gave us that as well because they understood that was how we would defile our temples, right?
Yeah.
How we defile our body because it gives us diseases, right? When we smoke, right? Cancers and stuff like that.
Okay, so in Alaska, do all people seem to live the same lifestyle, like poverty level?
No.
Okay, so who's on top?
Of course, white people.
Right, you said, of course, white people. Okay, so who's on the bottom?
Well, natives, they're drunk, they're high, they're not going by the rules, and it's hard for our people because of our color.
Is it equal opportunities for Native Americans in Alaska?
Hell no.
Tell me about it.
Well, I put down that I'm Native American on applications. I could fill out 4,000 applications every year, okay? And out of those 4,000 applications, I won't get one call back for a job.
I spent most of my adult life in prison due to alcoholism, so.
Watch this, because who gave the Native Americans the alcohol?
I don't know. They just showed up.
He just showed up.
The teachers didn't teach me about history like that. It's all a lie in the history books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say that the alcohol came when the colonizers came over here?
No, the pilgrims. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Watch this. This is what the Bible's about to say that happened to the Native Americans. Read that.
The book of Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 15. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink.
So what the colonizers, the pilgrims did when they came over here, they brought drink with them, right?
Yeah.
We're going to read what type of drink that was. Read on.
Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, that maketh him drunk also.
So they gave the Native Americans here, they gave them alcohol to make them drunk, right?
Yeah.
For what reason? Watch this.
That thou mayest look upon their nakedness.
So when people are naked, it's going into their shame, right? Their sin, right?
They
So
don't feel ashamed when they're drunk, though.
right. But what the nations do, though, after they did those things, right? They made agreements with the Native Americans, and then they took advantage of the Native Americans, right?
When you say yourself as you say Alaska Native, how did your people get to Alaska?
I don't really know the exact history, but I believe that Alaska Natives were just dormant here before, just God placed people around the world, and, part of Egypt and Asia where the Israelites and everything happened, like across the world. I feel like just the native Alaska Natives were just there.
Did you know how Mexicans came over here? That's in the Bible too.
No, I did not know that.
I'm going to show you that here shortly.
You said something earlier about how you got here, right? Let me get second Esdras. I'm gonna show you because the Bible, believe it or not, is a history book, and your history is actually captured in the Bible. You got time to hear that?
Yeah.
All right.
The book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 13 and verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes, which were scattered away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, led away captive.
So he's talking about the Israelites. You said you heard of the Israelites before, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, and go forth into a further country, where never mankind dwelt.
Where never mankind dwelt. Remember that, because the Bible is saying that wherever they went, no one else was there. In other words, they were the first people there, right? Read.
That they might keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And
So that they could keep the commandments of God in this further land. Read.
And they entered into Euphrates, by the narrow passages of the river.
So they're going to show the map this time. They're going in from Israel down the Euphrates River around bottom of Africa, right? Read.
For the Most High then shewed signs for them, and held still the flood, till they were passed over. For through that country there was a very great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Arsareth.
I'm going to show you real quick what Arsareth is, right? Read what you got.
Arsareth, Jewish Encyclopedia. The name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitation of man, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses until the time of the restoration, according to 2nd Esdras, verse 45. Columbus identified America with this land.
You see that? So according to the Jewish Encyclopedia, Arsareth is America.
I think that's definitely very interesting. I do think the Bible does tie a lot into history and our lessons. Us breaking the rules and us being punished multiple times throughout our human history, such as natural disasters, pandemics, everything like that. So I do agree.
Yeah. Why do you think God will have another nation of people, the white people, come and take the land from the natives?
It's been happening before I was born. Their culture is known to destroy other cultures to build themselves up.
Okay. Do you know that's actually in the Bible?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, of course I know it's in the Bible, but also God can deliver us from the things that are happening to us.
Just because around the world, other civilizations had to fight and wage wars, natives aren't the same. Right. Natives don't like to fight and wage war.
Right.
We were about peace. We were about living with the land.
We're having a discussion about James Cook. You let me know that he discovered New Zealand, which I had no idea he discovered New Zealand.
Yeah.
And then I knew some Alaskan history that James Cook also came to Alaska.
Yeah.
So when he came to New Zealand, what happened? I don't know the history of that.
Yeah, he just went there and discovered New Zealand, and he stopped in and got water and met the indigenous peoples and carried on. You know, they were ignorant in the respect of they were just, you know, discovering, you know, going around. It was you know, you think about it, it must have been a awesome part of life to go somewhere where no man had ever been before.
Think about this. James Cook went to New Zealand, found indigenous people, and had conflict.
Yeah.
Then he left and came to Alaska, found indigenous people, and had conflict again.
He went to Alaska first, or he went to, but he went around the world. He circumnavigated the earth, you know, with his boat, you know.
Let me ask you a question. Documented, as far as you know, did everywhere James Cook go, was it conflict?
I don't know. No, I don't think so. I think there was a little bit, but I mean, it was like anywhere you go into a new land, people hadn't seen white men before. There was bound to be some kind of conflict.
Do you know anything about James Cook?
James Cook, not much. I don't remember much of that.
Okay. Well, just to give you some quick information, James Cook, he opened up the colonial powers to basically come in. He was one of the first forerunners for colonialism to really hit Alaska. He came here, he made the Alaskan coast British territory, and after that you had a bunch of settlers, colonialists, were able to come in and really start doing what you were talking about, taking the resources, the fur trade, all these different things over from the Alaskan natives. And that's also how the population actually stooped down very low, because they brought diseases, things like smallpox as well.
According to the Bible, man, if you and I, as a chosen people of God, if we don't keep the commandments of God, he'll put curses on us, right? I'm going to show you an example curse that he put on our people. Read what you got.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 60. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou was afraid of. And they shall cleave unto thee. Also every sickness and every plague, which is not written in the book of this law. Them will the Lord bring upon thee, until thou be destroyed.
So that's what happened to our people, man.
You know, like you said about the diseases, he didn't know that they were bringing diseases.
So what indigenous people of New Zealand, who are they?
The Maori people.
The Maori people, will they be native?
Yes.
So like Native Americans?
No, native.
But like the nationality, like are they Indians?
Indigenous to New Zealand, yeah. They came about 300 years before Cook.
Came from
Hawaii and from the Pacific regions of the islands around the Pacific.
Okay, so they came from Hawaii and the Pacific Islands.
Yes.
Okay, and
they moved across the sea in their walkers.
Just forgive me for this. History. When my mother said you get depressed, she said read a book. So I was blessed to look up the Underground Railroad. I'm Connecticut. Just bear with me. And then even if you look at the native tribes, and they always say colonization, they embraced the faith and they made the religious, the Bible thumpers, spellbound, because first of all, they embraced the faith.
Who is that?
The natives and the African Americans.
So the natives and the Africans, or African Americans, they embrace the same religion?
Absolutely, Christianity.
In Christianity. Now, how did the natives become Christians?
Through colonization.
When you look at the Native Americans, very powerful people, very strong. They had to invent weapons to be able to conquer you guys, because you guys are very, very strong people, right? Mm-hmm. But because we began to break God's commandments, then they were able to come against us.
So James Cook went and displaced the indigenous people of New Zealand.
No, he didn't. He went there and discovered New Zealand, and then left New Zealand and carried on his journey around the Pacific.
So when he went to New Zealand, was the indigenous people already there?
Yeah.
But you say he discovered New Zealand, so
he discovered New Zealand as an explorer from England.
Okay, so he discovered New Zealand and found out that indigenous people were there.
Yeah.
Well, if you look back at our history, most of it was always kind of a small population, mainly because they kind of stuck to themselves and they were their own like clans and community members. And they were mainly all over Alaska, like on the Aleutian Chain, the Upper Inlet, everything like that. But then, Russians came over and they wanted to, take over Alaska, mainly for our pelts, like our otter pelts and wood and just, a lot of animals. Do remember that. But I think it was just because it's such a lower community now because they took them as prisoners and they would use them to collect these pelts and collect all like these resources from Alaska. So I think that definitely did a huge impact on the Alaska Native community. On top of that, then the Russians sold it to us Americans, and then we kind of made it just a little worse. But it's definitely a lot better than it was before. But yeah,
my family, helped build this country, and the foundation of the country.
They helped build the country?
They built the country, even before it was a country, when it was just, land.
And they had their conflicts, with the indigenous peoples, but they were very ignorant of what they were doing. They didn't realise what they were.
Can you describe the conflicts?
Oh, well, occasionally, like, they had a few, like, they were getting water or something, and a couple of the native people came down to meet them, and they didn't understand what they were doing because they couldn't speak Maori. So they, they had weapons, and they were pretty warlike.
So who had the weapons?
Both the Maori people and the Cook.
Did they have the same weaponry? Like I know that
spears.
So the natives had spears, and the James Cook and them had what?
Oh, muskets and guns. Yeah, as we call.
So it was a fight against spears versus musket and guns. You think that's a fair fight?
No, not really. No.
How did the African American become Christian?
Through, I'd hate to say colonization.
I think we need to redo the treaties because they're all old and ancient. Like back from when we didn't even have computers or anything.
And were those treaties written in favor for the Native Americans or to destroy the Native Americans?
Most likely destroy us, yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to show you that history is in the Bible. Ready, officer?
Yes. The book of Psalms, chapter 50, verse 20. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him.
Well, I'm seeing you right now, and there's no conflict. We're having a genuine conversation. So what do you think sparked the conflict?
Well, we want some water, and we're going to take it anyhow. And, in those days, water was like gold, today. People fight for money. Okay. Now we fight. In those days, they were looking for fuel, which was water and fruit and vegetables to live off, to keep on going.
It says he hath put forth his hands against such as were at peace with him. Meaning what? When the colonizers, the pilgrims came over here, you guys were at peace with them at first. That's why you guys were willing to make treaties, right? Yeah. And trade, right? Right? But it said he put his hand forth against you guys. Meaning what? He's going to tell you here. Read on.
He hath broken his covenant.
He broke the covenant after he came here. Okay. He made the deals, the treaties, and then he put his hands forth against you. Yeah. Meaning he made war with you guys, and then he broke the covenants, right? Yeah. That's Native American history here, right?
Yeah, that is for sure.
Absolutely. Watch this. Read on.
Verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
Right. That was how they were able to talk to you guys to make treaties.
They're manipulative.
Right. Yeah. That's in the Bible.
They knew what was going on.
Yeah. Right. Does that sound like your history?
Pretty much, yeah.
Right. Read on.
But war was in his heart.
The New Zealand government has given millions and millions of dollars back to the indigenous people of New Zealand, which, was taken wrongfully in the early days of the early settlers and discoverers that came to New Zealand.
Okay, so the New Zealand government recognizes that they took it.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
And our country is very, very open to the mistakes that we made to the indigenous peoples.
Let me ask you one more question. If I took something from you, right, and I had it in my possession, say it's worth $5,000. If I give you $1,000, am I doing you a service?
Not really.
So you want your whole $5,000 back?
Well, yeah, if you, take it.
Read it again.
But war was in his heart.
So he came here speaking nice, but then he made war with you guys.
Yeah.
That's your history, right? Why do you think that is? It's because this Bible is actually Native American history. What they did when they brought it over, they actually took it, lied about it, and then they tried to make you guys worship them as God, right?
Yeah.
But guess what? This Bible is about your ancestors. That's what we're showing our people. It's about you guys and how you guys, we fell, the blacks, the Latinos, the Native Americans of Alaska, and all throughout the Americas, we fell to the bottom, right? We got colonized, conquered, right?
Yeah.
But now, as we come back to the Bible, we're going to get risen back up. We're going to eventually rule again.
The Native Americans became Christian because they were forced to become Christians with the Jesuits, right? And likewise, the African Americans became Christian through slavery. So when they were enslaved, they were robbed of their ancestry and their history, and they were taught the same things the natives were taught, which would be Christianity.
All right, appreciate your time, sir. You have a nice day.
Nice to meet y'all.
All right, man. Thanks so much again for this interview, Roy. All right, brother.
All right, was nice meeting. Your name again?
Peter.
Nice to meet you, Peter. I'm Nathaniel.
Peter.
You take care, Peter, all right?
Yeah.
Today, Diego, it was great speaking with you. We got a flyer for you, matter of fact, with more information. There's a phone number. You can reach out always, get more information in regards to your history in the Bible, what we got to do to keep the commandments and the faith of Christ, come back as a community, bro.
Well, Robert, thank you so much for your time.
And thank you for educating
All
me.
right.
So you take care, my brother.
Yep, thank you.
All right, nice talking to you.
What they taught us in elementary, growing up in high school, they didn't teach us this. They taught us something else we wanted to learn.
That's what
Yeah. All right.
Check out the back of this flyer. You're going to see the tribe of Gad here.
So I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for this interview, brother.
All right, remember, the natives are from the tribe of Gad.
Yeah.
All right, you take care.
Yeah, we will.
Another edition of Cuts from the Streets from Anchorage, Alaska. So we out here, we got Gad down here, we got Issachar out here, we got Judah down here, we got all the tribes, all the brothers down here, and guess what? They need to know who they are according to the Bible. So hey, all praise to the Most High. Thanks for tuning in, and Lord willing, we'll see you soon on the next edition of Cuts from the Street. Shalom.
I done seen the future in America won't make it. I can look at Europe and I see it for the taking. China's about to fall, the economy is breaking. We ain't asking for the kingdom, man, we about to take it. Take it. World domination, we gon' take it. I don't need your money, yeah, we coming out the matrix. The London Bridge is falling, the Eiffel Tower falling, Statue of Liberty is falling. Call that world domination.
Nation is men leading by example.